ERT News, this is our 35th episode. Anton, just as exciting as the first. Thanks for being here.
The tax planning is heating up. This is the time of year where things get exciting. We're going to talk about it a lot on today's episode, and that's going to be the main push. We're going to give you some updates on the VFO tax planning process for those of you either A, that are wanting to utilize it, or B, that have used it in the past, or just wondering what updates there are, or C, you're doing your own tax planning. You want to see if there's anything that we've refined that you can take and apply to your own process. So that's going to be the main thing. And then Jenna will be giving a quick update on the VFO portal as well. All right. So when you are logged into whatever school community you're participating in, either a Catalyst or the Forward Accounting community, go to the classroom section. You will then see the VFO Fast Track 2.0. We just added this early this week, and the second one down is the VFO tax planning process. Click on that. You'll see this new 25-minute video that I just finished, and it walks through exactly what the VFO tax planning process is, how to get started, what requirements are included. We also have two links, one to the landing page, which I'll show you just in a moment, and one to the VFO planning intake form. Again, show you just in a moment. All right, so before we get into those forms, this is probably the most important thing of that 25-minute video. Not that you shouldn't watch it. You should go back and watch it because I give more details and context and all that good stuff. But Jenna, if somebody said, what's the most important section of that video? This is what it would be. It's understanding high level, what are the 6 steps of the virtual family office tax planning process when you're utilizing our team approach. So we start with the diagnostic. It's the form I'm going to show you momentarily where you're going to go just high level. What are the core takeaway details for an individual client? And in order for the juice to be worth the squeeze with the VFO tax planning process, really we should be looking at someone who's got a tax liability of, call it 100,000 or more, if we're talking income tax, or they're looking at a capital gains type of tax if they're selling an asset, and let's say it's an asset of 500,000 to 1 million, depending on their state, and there's going to be some meaningful capital gains that's going to be triggered. We can help. And so we're going to look at that diagnostic. We're going to determine if there's enough at a high level for us to be able to provide some meaningful tax planning. If there's not, we're just going to let the advisor or the accountant know really nothing we can do. 9 times out of 10, though, as long as it's meeting those benchmarks that I just walked through, there is going to be enough for us to move into this step 2, which is the deeper dive. We're going to be looking most likely at tax returns, sometimes profit and loss statements for businesses. We will let you know exactly what we need the client to provide in that deeper dive section. But that's where our team or one of our tax planning teams is going to review the information and to create what we call the core numbers for the ROI meeting. That's step 3. The ROI meeting is going to be 20 to 30 minutes. It's going to be with you and the client. We're going to go through at a high level, what's the return on investment? So what does that mean? We're going to talk a little bit about what is the VFO tax planning process so the client understands what is a virtual family office, what are their tax liabilities if they don't do any planning, what's their tax liability going to be if they do planning with the VFO tax planning process, what's the fee going to be for the tax planning, and then most importantly, what additional money out of pocket are they going to have to come up with in addition to the fee in order to recognize or realize that savings? So that's going to depend on what the tax strategy is. Could it be solar? Could it be some type of charitable leverage? There's other types of qualified plans. So we're going to make sure they understand all of the numbers at a high level. What's the benefit of the tax plan at the end of the day? Then we're going to present to them what's next if they want to move forward. Watch the video for more details. I talk a lot about the initial tax planning retainer, what the refund guarantees are, and how we move forward to the next step. That's step 4, the detailed tax plan review. Yes, Jenna.
If I'm an advisor watching you go through this, do I need to memorize all of these different areas or should I just be paying attention to a certain one or another?
Good question. So I would not worry about memorizing anything. What I would worry about or focus on is just understanding it's a step-by-step process. There's 6 steps involved. The ROI meeting is the first time where you're going to be meeting with us and the client. And we are going to role play this meeting with you so you know exactly what's included, as well as what our expectation is of you. So how to frame out the meeting, and we'll give you some little scripting.
Perfect.
So not a whole lot that you have to memorize. After we go through the ROI meeting, if the client wants to move forward and they've made the tax planning deposit, we move into the tax plan review where we go through exactly what the strategies are, what different levers we can potentially pull. Then from there, if the client likes to move forward, or would like to move forward, we go into the education and the due diligence. There's some nuances here in terms of where the guarantees are still applicable, where things are refunded, where they're not. Again, watch that 25-minute video because that's where I go through the details. When we get into the education and the due diligence, this is where we just go hold your hand with the client. Sometimes it literally is like 1 week. Sometimes it's a month. It really depends on the sophistication of the client, how many strategies, how many specialists are being looped in here. But we hold the hand through the whole thing, ultimately get to the point where ideally they go, yep, all right, I'm comfortable, and I want to move forward with the implementation. Obviously, the tax plan is not really worth much If the client doesn't implement, because at the end of the day, they're not paying just to have a plan saved on their laptop, they're paying for the results of the plan. And that comes through the implementation. So we hold their hand, we educate everybody, make sure they're comfortable, get to the point where we are implementing, scheduling the different meetings with the specialists, collecting the different documentations, making sure we get to the point where we conclude the 6 steps of the tax planning process. All right. So why is this important? Well, the closer we get to Q4, the more and more attention the tax planning will get. As people are understanding kind of where their numbers are for the year, they're starting to get some estimates from their tax professionals, and the clock gets closer and closer to striking 12. There are some things you can do in 2027 to help with 2026, but when it's 2026, we like to focus on, let's not think about that. That's kind of a backup plan. Right now, we want to focus on what can we do before the clock strikes 12, which would be the end of the year. It's also really important to realize the deeper and deeper we get into the year, the less and less options we have available. There's a lot of strategies that by September, October, November, they'll be at full capacity. They won't be offered anymore. So if you are offering tax planning or you want to get into the tax planning space with clients, don't wait. Like now is the time where you should proactively be reaching out and say, I've got an incredible team of advanced tax planners. I'd like to introduce you to this VFO tax planning process. And it's a simple diagnostic to start the process. All right, so what is that diagnostic? Well, it begins with this landing page. This landing page is designed to be client facing. And it goes through what is a virtual family office? What is the tax planning process? At any point, you can hit start the process. That will take you to the diagnostic. But it also walks through the 6 steps. So this is exactly the 6 steps that I just walked through on that Google Doc that Jenna asked if you have to memorize. But this is just a little bit prettier. It's more client facing in terms of the initial discussion, talks about each of the steps, and then why do tax planning, why a virtual family office. And once you or the client are comfortable, you hit start the process. So it will lead to this tax planning form where we walk through who's completing this form. Now, I would always suggest that you, as the advisor or the accountant, either do this on the client's behalf if you have a really deep relationship with them and you already know the information, or do it with them. Like do it while you're in the office or do it on a Zoom meeting and go through it together. My suggestion would not just be to send it to a client and have them do it on their own. I'd say 95% of the successful tax planning engagements, we're seeing like anywhere between 3 to 7 a week right now. It's really picked up. The member is doing it with the client. So I'd walk through this together, fill out the information, get their numbers, get an understanding of where their priorities are. As I said, it shouldn't take more than a few minutes to do this. We're looking for really just an understanding of what they're wanting to do, what's the motivation, and then rough numbers. So once we get there, you can hit submit. Now, after you submit the form, in order for it to begin the VFO tax planning process, there is a $500 fee for our team to do the initial work for the ROI meeting and the tax plan analysis. Okay. If you submit this form and the $500 payment, and we look at it and we just go, there's not enough that we can do to bring value, we'll let you know. We won't schedule the meeting. We will refund the 500. But assuming again, there is enough to move forward from steps 1 and 2 into step 3, where we schedule the ROI meeting, this fee then essentially helps cover the time investment in order to prepare for that. So make that $500 deposit. Again, I'd say at least 9 times out of 10, this is the advisor or the accountant that's making this $500 payment, especially if you're already working with them in any other type of context, meaning you're generating revenue already. And even if you're not, if they're a new client, I'll just tell you what I would do. I would look at this as a marketing cost. It's $500 and the return on the investment is significant. It's a huge opportunity this time of year. So I would cover it. But if for some reason that's uncomfortable, or it's a particular client that maybe they're a tire kicker and you've never done something with them and they've looked at it over the last few years, then maybe you do have them cover it. It's totally up to you. But that's how I
Quick
would
note,
rock and
Anton.
roll.
Sorry, just
Yep.
one note there, because you said with a new client, but I know if I was sitting here thinking about this, right, I would say, oh, I'm going to go to the clients that I'm either already working with, as you said, or perhaps already know that they have some tax opportunity. But if it is a newer client, what type of relationship would you suggest that you have with that newer client in order to take them through this process? Is there some tips or tricks that you would do with someone that maybe not be as familiar with me and what I am bringing to the table as an advisor or an
Yeah,
accountant?
that's a good question. So there are a few members who are bringing brand new kind of cold prospects or
Right,
clients
right.
through this. And what I would say is if that was me, so I would always prefer to start with warm clients,
Yeah.
especially if I have any understanding of what their income is and their tax liability, that's where I would start. If you are doing marketing and you're using this with potential new clients that are quality, I would just make sure I'm having a pre-meeting with them where I'm walking through this landing page. I'd want them to really understand what is a virtual family office, what's this overall value prop, what are the 6 steps, and I would highlight that there are tax planning fees that will be required. And I just make sure that they're really comfortable with this and that I get like a good vibe from them
Yeah.
before then I would jump into the diagnostic and the tax planning fee. And if they are new, I definitely then would walk through this together with them and I'd ask some probing questions. Tell me a little bit about your current relationships, what's working, what's not. And then again, part of who covers the fee depends on your business model and kind of your revenue. I would cover it because I would look at it as just it's a great investment and it's just a huge ROI.
Sure.
But that's for each member to decide.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you walk through it. I would say too, as you said, we're getting towards the end of the year. Some strategies start to get used, and there's not always a ton of opportunity by the end of the year. We know we've had people do it last, talk about the
Yeah.
clock turning 12. So I would say if you're not attending the Monday calls with Tracy Miller,
Mm.
VFO specialists are on every single Monday almost. And as we get into tax season, into October, that is going to just heighten. I know that she's already thinking about who's going to be on for the September calls, October calls. So I would say if you're not familiar or you want to get more familiar, or if an accountant is watching this and you want to join or an advisor, you guys can join together. And I think that's a really nice way to stay on top of what is currently available, when are these deadlines that are approaching, and then this way you just have a nice understanding of what's out there, what's being offered, and feeling a little bit more comfortable when you're talking to clients about those strategies as well. So if you haven't tapped into them, there's obviously some coming up, but of course we have the recordings in school as well that you can look back to.
Yeah, no, well said. And I think a good point to drive home before we wrap up this video is just if this is not a space you're playing in yet, leverage this process. If it is, then fantastic. Like we're happy to share everything we're doing, and you can look at the links below this video to help you. If it's not something you're doing though, this will be such a huge area of opportunity. We're seeing so much growth right now in this space. We have multiple VFO tax planning teams that are up and running, and they're made up of both advisors and accountants, tremendous tax planning experience. We have way more bandwidth as a result of this VFO tax planning team approach that we've taken compared to last year at this time. So the next 4 months, we're going to be harping on it a lot. It's just because the opportunity is huge and the results are going to be huge. It's just really an exciting time. So I hope you take advantage of what we've built. And if there's anything we can do to improve or support you in this, that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, thanks for walking through that. And again, any questions, definitely let us know. The last thing we'll touch on for today is the VFO portal. We've been kind of teasing it over the past few episodes, and some of our members have already been onboarded. So we had 26 members onboarded last week. We have another 10 or so being onboarded this week. And that's intentional, right? It's kind of a slow rollout process. Want to make sure that things are working well. So if you haven't gotten a taste of the VFO portal yet, you're a current member of ERT, drop a comment below this video and we will make sure that we get someone in touch with you to get you onboarded into the process. We'll share a little bit more about it on the next episode, give you a little bit more of a feel of what it looks like, what it can do for you. But it's definitely, as Anton said, an exciting time here at ERT. There's a lot of buzz going around between the portal, the tax planning, and a lot of just really great things that are in motion. And I think that's going to make for a much more exciting or just as exciting Q4 than we've had in Q3. So yeah, things to stay tuned for, and definitely let us know if you would like to get a head start on being onboarded into the portal as well.
Yeah, and if I can piggyback on that,
Yeah.
so I think Jenna has a demo planned of the VFO portal for next week. So if you haven't stayed up to date what we've built there, you'll see exactly what that is. And I should mention that the entire VFO tax planning process is built on the portal, and that's just one of probably a dozen exciting things that it can do. And it's the only reason why we can support. We've got between 35 to 40 active VFO tax planning cases in motion right now, which is a lot of scheduling and documentation and invoices and agreements and revenue shares, and all of it is being automatically tracked and the I's dotted and the T's crossed through the VFO portal utilizing automation and AI. And we can 10x that. Like what's being built is radical.
Yes.
So I'll leave it there
Yes.
until next week or the
Yes.
next
Yes. We
episode.
always we always like to leave a teaser. So of course we will catch you next time on episode 36. Until then, if you need anything from us, let us know. Drop a comment in the community. And yeah, Anton, we'll see you next time.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
Have
Bye.
a good one. Thanks everybody.